Hello, everyone. I'm Natalia with Vic Magazine, and today I'm joined here with Dr. Ashleigh McWilliams, who is the Senior Analytical Chemist for INEOS Olefins and Polymers out of LaPorte, Texas. Dr. McWilliams, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good, thank you. It's so nice to have you here. I'd like to take a minute to offer our audience some background on some of your accomplishments. Dr. McWilliams is a recipient of the Manufacturing Institute's 2024 Women Make Award as an emerging leader. Each year, the Manufacturing Institute awards women this honor for excelling in both their chosen field and in community support. Dr. McWilliams received her Bachelor of Science in Chemistry from Texas Tech and her PhD in Chemistry from Rice University. She started at INEOS Olefins and Polymers out of graduate school in August of 2020 and has served as a spectroscopy chemist and now serves as a senior analytical chemist. In her personal life, Dr. McWilliams became a first time mom in September of last year, welcoming her son Oliver. There is much to applaud you for, Dr. McWilliams, but firstly, I'd like to congratulate you on becoming a new mom, and I'm sure it feels like the time has just flown by.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And I'll touch on your personal life a bit later, but I'd like to ask if you could share a bit about the Manufacturing Institute and the Women Make America initiative with our audience.
Sure. So the Manufacturing Institute is focused on empowering the manufacturing workforce, and in particular, the Women Make America initiative is focused on empowering women in manufacturing. And so one of their main goals right now is the 35 by 30 challenge. And so essentially, though women have made great strides in the general workforce, we make up about half of the general workforce, and manufacturing, women only compose about a third of the workforce. And so their big effort right now is to get to 35% by 2030 and start closing that gender gap.
So you were recently honored as an emerging leader by the Manufacturing Institute. Congratulations again.
Thank
How did you
you.
learn that you were awarded with that honor?
Sure. So actually, the going back a little bit, the nomination story was pretty funny. So essentially, each of the big manufacturing companies get to nominate a couple of people to this award each year. And I got the email from my board that I had been selected by INEOS at 1 p.m. on September 5th. And I remembered the time and the day because I was due to be induced with my son at 5 a.m. the next morning. And so so thankfully, so part of the nomination process is kind of sending in these essays and things that come from our management, but typically you have a lot of feedback and give a lot of information for. And so I had a couple of hours to try to get my boss filled in on all of my, external to INEOS work and my activities towards supporting women in science and things like that. And I'm furiously trying to type this up as my parents came in town to support me for about to go into the hospital the next day. But then actually receiving the award, I found out this January, and I just remember it was during the big freeze of this year, and so we were all working from home, and my husband was as well, and so I remember getting the email, and you kind of assume with these things it's such an honor to even be nominated, and certainly you're not going to be chosen, and so when I saw the email and it said congratulations, I was just in complete shock, and
Yeah.
my husband looks at me and he goes, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I got selected." He's like, "No way."
Yeah.
Just got to celebrate. It was exciting.
Yeah, that's great. As a woman myself, seeing another woman who's so passionate about her career and excelling in that due to her passion is so inspiring. What sparked your interest in STEM?
So I've had an interest in STEM for most of my life. I remember growing up, I was, that kid that had, asked for chemistry sets for Christmas and watched television shows based on math and things like that.
Mhm.
And I can say, along the way, I had some really, really excellent teachers, especially in the sciences, that even, pushed my interest more, saw that I had a knack for it, and would give me additional, work or fun things to read and things like that. And then what eventually kind of clinched it for me deciding to go this direction was when I was in middle school, we lost my grandfather to cancer. And it's a common story, right? But I knew that I loved science and I thought, okay, I can go and I can research and make a difference in the world. And along the way through undergraduate and graduate school, I've found that I just have a love of learning and have shifted my focus. Obviously, I'm no longer and it didn't end up in the health industry, but I knew I could use this skill that I have to try to make a difference in the world in some way.
Mhm. Well, could you give us a glimpse into your job with INEOS and what is it like and what do you find most rewarding?
Sure. So as I mentioned, I'm an analytical chemist, and so I work with a group of chemists, and we're located within the technical services and product development department. And so what we call ourselves basically the CSI of the group. And so any customer complaints, plant upsets that come up, or product development initiatives, they'll come to our lab, and we'll each have our skill set that we are specialized in, but we work together as a team to try to solve these different problems.
Mhm.
And so what I really enjoy about that is just one, just the ability to collaborate with all different people throughout the plant. I get to learn about the different processes and things like that. And then the second is just every day is a completely new experience, a new challenge. So one day, I might be dealing with a customer complaint related to, milk jug production, contamination, something like that. And the next day I might be going out to the rail car wash and getting into a rail car to see why we have some stains that are impacting our product. And so every day I get an opportunity to learn something new and to interact with a whole host of different people.
I think it's nice that you get to do a variety of different things and you're constantly learning as well.
Mhm.
It can be difficult for women to find their voice in this field since it is very heavily male dominated. Can you share some of the challenges you have faced as a woman in STEM and how did you overcome those challenges?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been very lucky in my career in that I haven't, been experienced a lot of prejudice. I've had excellent mentors, male and female, that have recognized my abilities and allowed me to excel regardless. But just like anyone, I've been the only woman in the room for plenty of meetings, and I think that for me personally, the area where I really had to push myself is just learning to speak up and believe that I knew what I was talking about and I had a right to my opinion and to speak my truth. And I think that's the biggest thing that can sometimes get forgotten whenever you're the only woman in a room or the only anything in a room, is that you feel maybe that you're being looked upon differently. And in most cases, I found that I really wasn't, as long as I was willing to put my opinions out there.
Mhm. I alluded to this a bit before, but many women can find it difficult to navigate a field like this because there's that lack of female representation. And
Mhm.
I believe that you mentioned that women account for about half of the US labor force, but represent less than a third of the manufacturing workforce. And this statistic can be really discouraging to younger women who are interested in STEM, but it can also be very motivating to them. Is there any advice that you have for younger women who want to pursue a career in STEM?
Sure. Yeah, I think first and foremost, and I remember hearing this all the time, was to find a mentor and just be willing to ask for help. And I always got a little intimidated by that advice because I didn't know how to ask someone to help me. I was like, they're busy, why would they give that time? But I found that just asking for help on small projects even, or, I'm really thinking about this career move. What is your experience? People love to talk about themselves. They love to give you a few minutes of their time. And if that can help you figure out what you want to do next, then that I find that to be really rewarding. I also think a big thing, I've learned as just women in general in the workforce is to not negotiate against yourself. And so a lot of times I know reasons that often the average woman's income is or salary is lower than the average males is because we come into the negotiating room having talked ourselves down a few steps. We're like, oh, I probably would be okay somewhere around here.
Yeah.
Whereas that's not as commonly done. done by our male counterparts. And so just ask for the raise, ask for the opportunity, ask for the promotion. Someone might tell you no, but they might very much tell you yes. And then the third is kind of what I mentioned before, is just speak up. You have a voice, and you know what you're talking about. People want to hear it. They're not going to judge you for getting something wrong or making a mistake. If you are actively trying to get involved and solve a problem.
That's great advice. Do you believe that it's important to have more women represented in STEM? Why or why not?
No, sure, absolutely. I think what I've found is that the best ideas come from having diversity of all kinds in the room, and of course that includes having women and men and people of all backgrounds. We recently had a women in International Women's Day breakfast at INEOS, and our speaker mentioned that companies that have more diversity in the room and have especially on their like executive board and things, are 19% more profitable. They tend to capture new markets much faster and have an increased market share within their their market. And so I just think it's very important that we focus on making sure that all different voices are getting heard, because you never know where the best ideas can come from.
As someone who's committed to philanthropy, are there any initiatives or programs that you think are essential for supporting and empowering women in STEM?
Sure. I think first and foremost, any mentorship programs are going to be the most important. A lot of these I've found, or the one I was part of was actually within my company itself. And I think those can be a really beneficial way for you just to learn, kind of the ins and outs of the company, have someone who has already been in your shoes and can show you sort of different paths forward. Another one that I've had a big part in previously and really enjoyed is there's an Association for Women in Science. It's a national organization with a lot of local groups that you can get involved in, and they tackle things like policy, provide networking opportunities, provide workshops and things like that. And so that was very beneficial to me during my graduate career to start meeting women throughout the science community and kind of see what opportunities there were once I was finished and ready to move into the industry.
Well, I'm certain that you've had to make many sacrifices to get to where you are, and people often find a work-life balance difficult to manage. How do you maintain that balance, and have you found it more difficult to juggle since you've become a mother?
Yeah, work-life balance was definitely something I struggled with, especially during my graduate career. It's in academia, it's not there's not a lot of work-life balance
Yeah.
expected. You're kind of expected to be in the lab when you need to be, but it's something that's very important to me and was very important whenever I was looking for jobs, that I knew I wanted to have that balance. I want to excel when I'm at work, but also I want to put the people that matter to me, my husband, my son, first and foremost once I get home. And so I found certain things have really helped along the way. One, there was another female scientist that I actually work with. I remember my first week at INEOS, I was just trying to learn everything, and our schedules are slightly offset. And so she was teaching me something, and she looks at the clock and she looks at me. She's like, "What time did you get here?" And I was like, "Oh, like 6:30." She's like, "You should have gone home half an hour ago." And I was like, "Yeah, but I want to learn this." She's like, "No, no, they will take your time if you let them. You need to be in control of your time. I will teach you this tomorrow. You go home." And I've kind of held that with me moving forward. That it's just, yes, the company will always take your time if you're willing to give it to them, but that is your time. You own it. And then the second thing is just whenever I'm at work, that's when I'm going to give my maximum effort. I focus as hard as I can on trying to do the best I can and complete as many tasks as I can. And then when I get home, I have very limited reachability. If there's an emergency, someone can call me. But people pretty much know that if it's not urgent, I'm gonna get back to them first thing the next morning, because I'm focused on, my son. I'm focused on making dinner. We have other responsibilities that, your work is there to provide the resources you need to be able to live and enjoy your life. It shouldn't be the only focus of your life.
Lastly, I'd love to know your opinion on any exciting developments happening in STEM today. Is there anything that you can share with our audience?
Sure. So right now, obviously, my focus is a lot on what's a better way of introducing solids to my child and things like that. But an area I've gotten to focus on a lot recently, in a position I've started in this past year, is actually exercise and movement for children and adolescents. And so we have a program called the Daily Mile that we support here at INEOS, that's all focused on getting children a 15-minute chance to go outside, run or walk, and just get out of the classroom, for just a short period. And the research that I'm getting to look into on this shows that movement can help their mental health. It helps their academic performance, obviously physical health, but there are so many benefits that this provides for children and adolescents. And I've found that just to be really exciting area of research recently.
Well, Dr. Williams, thank you for taking the time to sit down with me, and congratulations again on all of your accomplishments that are very well deserved. And I'm sure that you're only going to continue to shine in your career moving forward.
Thank you very, very much for having me. It was
Yeah,
great to meet you.
you as well. As always, we thank you for watching. And if you want more videos, news, or podcasts, visit bigmagazine.com. And remember, it's what we do together that counts.